know who I am, my name is Rachel. I grew up in the Midwest, in Missouri, and I'm 24. So this is my story. On November 2nd, 2021, I had bariatric surgery. I specifically had the duodenal switch, which my surgeon will explain more in depth because he can explain it better than I can. And then I will be going into some of my family history and like what brought me to this point and some of those fun details. And then I'll get into what it's like after having the surgery. So stay tuned.
So, we're going to be performing the duodenal switch procedure. It's called the biliopancreatic diversion with duodenal switch. For you, we're going to do it robotically today. And so that involves doing a sleeve gastrectomy like we talked about. And then we'll bypass a portion of your small intestine as well. So it's going to have that two-prong effect like we talked about in clinic, where you eat less because of the sleeve, so the smaller stomach, and then you'll absorb less because of the shortened length of intestine for absorption. So duodenal switch, okay?
Awesome. So that was my surgeon explaining the procedure that they did on November 2nd. So just to reiterate, they took about 80 to 90% of my stomach, and then they bypassed a part of my small intestine. So the smaller stomach makes it so that I can't eat as much, and the part of my small intestine that they bypassed makes it so that I don't absorb as many calories, which is a good thing, but it's also not great either, because it also limits how much I intake of certain things. So some of my family history. So I grew up in Missouri, the Midwest, and I was mainly raised by my mother, and of course my grandparents helped out. But my mom was a single mom, and for the majority of the time I was with her, and she didn't make that much. And so in today's world, even when I was younger, like we couldn't afford the healthy food because it's such a staple that healthy food is so much more expensive than the unhealthy food these days. Like, you have to budget really tightly to be able to afford healthy food, especially for like a family. And that was part of the reason that I got to where I am today, because I didn't have all those options, based on, we were middle class or lower middle class even, when I was younger. And then when I was about 2 or 3 years old, I found out that I had a blood disorder called ITP. So it meant that my blood didn't clot properly, like everybody else's. So I was put on steroids for 6 years, to get rid of it or to eventually outgrow it. I had several times when I was younger in the hospital, and they eventually switched me to something else after those 6 years. But for 6 years, I took steroids, and I took 6 pills a day. So by the time that I was 12, I was already overweight. And so that was really hard on me. But, I made it through. So, when I was younger, so I was probably about in middle school or so, I started gaining more weight, because, I was middle schooler, and I wanted all the unhealthy snacks, of course. And so doing that, I put on a lot of extra weight, and looking back now, I would say that I didn't actually weigh that much back then. I weigh more now. Then, of course, than I did back then. So back then, I'd take that weight right now. But I was still overweight for my age, and it was really hard on me. And a lot of my family would always encourage me, like they wanted me to eat healthy, and they wanted me to like help out, like for my grandpa's farm. I would always help them out there. And I actually lost some weight, but I never kept it off. I just got to a point where I was really depressed and it wasn't great, and I didn't think that I was gonna change. And then I got an opportunity to go to college in Florida for culinary. And while I was there, I learned a lot about nutrition and what was important to eat. And I actually lost weight while I was there because I was pretty active and I was eating really healthy. So that was kind of like my turning point where I was like, no, like I want to get healthy. I want to change. And it's so hard because until you actually want it, like you're not going to do anything about it. But then I had some downfalls and ended up getting pregnant with my son and had him. And then I went back to school for teaching now. So my life has changed a lot within the last 5 years. But at the beginning of 2021, I decided that I needed an extra push in the right direction. And I believe that this will help me achieve what I want to achieve. And it's not that I couldn't do it on my own and eventually get there, but it was just really hard for me to lose weight in general. And I, was at the risk of getting different diseases and blood, and disorders and stuff. And I didn't want any of those because I wanted to be around for my son. So I put in the work, and we're here today. So I started my journey, which this is hard for me to say, at 333 pounds. I don't know if that's the highest weight I've been, but when I started going to see my physician regularly, that was my first weigh-in, was 333 pounds. Today I weigh 252 pounds, which is amazing for me. It's really been hard to keep going and everything. So I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet, and I'm just gonna keep working as hard. So if you want to know how my diet progression went after surgery, go see the next videos and subscribe so that you get notifications when I post a new video. Thanks.